I'm Shannon Shipman, Purdue Extension, Ohio County Health and Human Sciences and 4-H Youth Development Educator. And with me today, I have our Extension Nutrition Educator, Trina Josart, and she's going to be helping me as we virtually present our quarterly program called Let's Get Cooking. Each quarter, we focus on something that is new and innovative that we can add to our recipes to help increase our nutritional value. So for this quarterly program, we're going to go ahead and talk about the garden splendor that we have, and known as the zucchini and squash that's really ripe and fresh right now. So over the next 4 weeks, Trina and I are going to be working together to provide you with recipes and information about zucchini and squash and how you can incorporate these fruits, or if you want to call them vegetables, into our daily breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even some tasty desserts. Now, the recipes will be available as we go through the program, so sit tight with your pen and pencil, and we'll be sure to give you the time to write down your ingredients. So, before we get started, we got to ask the question and we got to learn a little bit. So is a zucchini and a squash, are they a fruit or are they a vegetable? So on the scientific side of things, zucchini and squash are technically considered a fruit because they grow from the flowering part of the plant and they contain seeds. On the culinary side though, they're considered a vegetable because they can be savory and mixed with different varieties of spices to enhance flavors, and it can be incorporated into a lot of different dishes. So it's kind of up to you how you want to look at it. So, as our gardens are ripening, zucchini is becoming pretty abundant. And I know a lot of people, you can see down like the roadsides where people are like, here, take it, it's free, have it. Well, you can figure out ways to incorporate this healthy food into your diet in so many different ways, and we're hoping that you will get something from that today. So, when you're looking for your zucchinis and picking them from the garden, you want to make sure that they're no more than 10 inches in length. Probably about 6 to 10 inches is the item size you want to look for. You want to make sure that they're glossy and green in color, and that they're not soft, bruised, or damaged in any way. Now, zucchini is kind of finicky in that one day it can look great and you can think, oh, I'll just pick it tomorrow morning, it'll be perfect. But by the next morning, it might be overgrown, which means the seeds and the inside of the flesh can be kind of hard and stringy, and it won't cook as well, and the flavor kind of gets to be a little bit less strong as well. So we want to avoid squash and zucchinis that are overly large, that have any bruising, or that their color is kind of off, because that probably means that they're overripe. Now, one of the most important things that we can think about to our diet, adding to our diet, is that we have vitamin C in it. You know, with everything that's going around right now, we have the concerns about COVID, kids are back in school, there's going to be colds and stomach bugs and things like that. The more vitamin C we can add to our diet, the better. And so these little zucchinis here can really pack a nutritional punch for us. So 1 cup of zucchini has only 20 calories, but can actually provide your body with 30 to 35% of its daily need for vitamin C, which once again is great for our immune system, that helps us to fight off any illnesses, or it helps to repair cuts and bruises and things like that can happen to our outer skin. Like I said, a little cup of zucchini only has 20 calories in it, so you're getting a lot of nutrients for a small amount of your caloric allowance for each day. Now, zucchini is also high in carotenoids, which, like lutein, which will help you to have less of a chance of getting cataracts or macular degeneration as your eyes age. And also, zucchini is super high in fiber, which means it's going to make you feel fuller for longer, and it's also going to help with prevention of colorectal cancer as well as heart disease. So, for this week, Trina and I are going to demonstrate how we can incorporate zucchini into a breakfast casserole. So, this is one of my go-to recipes. As a busy working mom, I try to have things that I can pop in the oven really quick when I get home, or prep at lunchtime that I can throw in the oven when I get home. And this is one of my go-to recipes. So what we have here is all of our ingredients. But first we're going to talk about, since it is a breakfast casserole, why we need to eat breakfast. Breakfast is our go food. It gives our bodies the energy to refuel. Like Trina tells her clientele, it's kind of like when we charge our cell phone up. Our cell phone battery's got to be full, and we feel unprepared if our cell phone battery isn't charged completely. Same thing with breakfast. When we don't eat breakfast, we tend to not be able to focus nearly as well, and we also tend to have that lack of concentration. So breakfast, so important, especially for our kiddos as they're heading into the new school year and making sure that they have the ability to focus and pay attention because they're focusing on what's going on in the classroom versus their bellies being empty. So the other important thing about doing this is when we start a recipe, the most important thing we want to do is wash our hands. Hand washing is so vital right now. And with all of the COVID talk, we've all heard about hand washing. So important. So make sure before you start any recipe in your kitchen that you wash your hands with warm water and soap for a minimum of 20 seconds, or the length of time it takes to say the ABCs or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. If you want to sing out loud, it's totally up to you. Anyway, so to get started on our recipe,
and we did both wash our hands.
We did both wash our hands. So to get started on our recipe, Trina's going to begin to prepare a 9x13 pan with some cooking spray. So she's going to go ahead and spray that so the ingredients don't stick to it. We have our oven preheated to 350 degrees. And next what we're going to do is we're going to add about 16 ounces or 1 pound of these potatoes o'brien, or the potatoes with the cut up peppers and onions in them, to cover the bottom of that pan.
There you go.
There we go. Now we got it. Go ahead.
And if it's a little frozen, it's okay, because it'll bake.
It's gonna bake. It's gonna be great. Okay, next up we have one of my new favorite convenient items, which is already pre-cooked, crumbled, and drained turkey sausage for breakfast. I used to take about 15 minutes to cook and drain my breakfast sausage when I was cooking, but now that I found this shaves about 15 minutes of prep time off this recipe. So Trina's gonna go ahead and dump all of this in.
Yummy. And I see everything's pre-packaged, which is so much easier with people going back to work and being able to prepare for your family's meal.
And this is also a great meal to satisfy like after sports practice, in the evenings when your kids get home and it might be kind of a later night and you don't want to eat something that's too heavy. This is a great meal for that too. So next what Trina's going to do is she's going to crack 6 eggs into a mixing bowl that we have right here.
Yeah, that's my plan. Not getting the shell in there.
So as Trina's cracking those eggs are a great source of protein for us. They're only about 70 calories and provide about 7 grams of protein per serving. So this breakfast recipe is actually going to be a pretty good serving of protein for our kids, especially if they're an athlete. They need that protein to rejuvenate their muscle growth. And so with the turkey sausage, it's lower in fat but higher in protein. And our eggs are, like I said, a good source of protein. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of milk. And we're going to stir that together. And try to get those eggs incorporated into the milk. And next, Trina's going to add our seasonings, which is basically just a simple package of white gravy mix that we're going to add into these eggs and milk.
And we would love to hear feedback if you guys go ahead and make this.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear what you guys think, any ideas of what you do differently.
You know, something else that you can add to this, you can add green chilies to it, like a can of green chili. That's going to increase your vitamin C. There's a lot of different ways that you can doctor this casserole up, but we decided to focus on zucchini because 1, that's what our program's about, and 2, because it's so plentiful right now. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add in about 1 cup, maybe 1.5 cups of shredded zucchini that I just processed in my food processor. So we're going to carefully add that in.
And Shannon, if they don't have a food processor, what could they use?
You know, you can slice it really, really fine. You can put it in a blender if you have a blender. You can use a cheese grater if you have a cheese grater, a handheld one, and you can use that as well after you've rinsed off your zucchini. But just make sure you keep the skin on though, because that's where all those nutrients are. So what we're gonna do, stir that zucchini into our eggs. And the one thing I totally love about zucchini is, as the mom of little kids, sometimes it's hard for them to eat their vegetables. A lot of times, if you shred the zucchini really fine, you can totally sneak it in, and those little ones don't realize they're getting a serving of vegetables in their food.
I love to sneak food.
I know. Some of those mom things.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is Trina's gonna go ahead and dump this egg mixture on top of the sausage and potatoes.
I can see this is going to be a beautiful dish when it's done.
I'm pretty excited about it.
I know.
And then lastly, like I said, we're gonna support America's dairy farmers by using 2 cups of Colby Jack cheese. If you don't have Colby Jack cheese and you have cheddar, that's fine. If you only have Monterey Jack, whatever. Just top it with some type of cheese because that always just gives the best flavor, that adds to the flavoring at the end of it. So you wanna make sure you evenly cover the top with cheese. So we're just gonna carefully spread this out without trying to touch too much of the egg mixture. Spread that out. And then we are gonna take our pan and we're gonna pop it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 55 to 60 minutes, or until when you insert a knife in the center, the knife comes out clean. Okay, I'll just try to make it. All right, so after after baking our breakfast casserole, we just pulled it out of the oven. It's nice and golden on top, and the cheese is melted. We're gonna let it cool just for a little bit before we go ahead and sample some of that breakfast goodness with that zucchini. So in the meantime, while we're letting that cool, we're gonna talk a little bit about breakfast on the go. And we all know that everybody's got a hectic schedule, trying to get kids to school, we wanna get to work on time, there's errands to be run, and sometimes we don't have the time to sit down and actually enjoy our food. So we've come up with a recipe courtesy of the Celiac Organization for gluten-free on-the-go muffins. You know, these days there's a lot of different food allergies out there, and one of the most common ones that we found, especially like in our schools, has been celiac or gluten sensitivity. So we decided to try to cater to that audience and help them to have a recipe they can enjoy with their zucchini from the garden as well. So with this recipe, it's a great opportunity to have your kiddo in the kitchen with you. Now, once again, when you have your kiddo in the kitchen, you can talk to them about the importance of hand washing and how that helps to reduce the germs on our hands so that it doesn't get into our food. And also, if you've got a kid that's struggling with math or fractions, this is a great way to help them learn those as well, because they're using the measuring cups to measure ingredients and they actually visualize and see that amount. We all know that no two kids learn the same way, and so by putting your kids in the kitchen, it's a great opportunity for them to help learn how to understand a recipe, to learn how to measure, to learn the responsibility of cleaning up afterwards. It's just a great way to get your kid involved, and it's also a great chance to promote some good conversation with you and your child as well. So Trina and I now are going to go ahead and put together our gluten on-the-go zucchini muffins, and our gluten-free on-the-go zucchini muffins. And to get started, we're going to go ahead and take our mini muffin pan, and we're going to go ahead and spray it with, once again, our non-stick cooking spray.
And our hands are clean.
And our hands are clean. We've already washed them.
Watch out. Here it comes.
All right. Now we figured we'd go ahead and use a mini muffin pan because we have these little convenient size, snack size Ziploc bags, and about 3 of these muffins will fit into one of these bags. And these little bags are great because you can lay them out the night before. The kiddos can grab them on the way out to the bus the next morning and have their breakfast while they're walking down the driveway. So we tried to go ahead and use those. So now that we've got our pan greased, our oven continues to be heated to 350 degrees. We're gonna go ahead and start mixing our wet ingredients. So our wet ingredients consist of a 1/2 cup of coconut oil, which is solid at room temperature and smells really good.
And so does that casserole.
Yes, it does. I'm pretty excited. Glad I wore my stuffy pants. And then we're gonna add in about a 1/2 cup of sugar.
Pre-measured.
Pre-measured for our convenience. And so Trina's gonna go ahead and cream that together so it's nice and evenly mixed for about a minute. She's gonna go ahead and stir that. And then next we're gonna go ahead and add in 2 eggs as we get that mixed together.
I don't know what smells better, this zucchini
know.
over here or
And I'm pretty excited to be where we're at right now and get some samples.
This is the best thing I've done in
I
months.
was gonna say, watch out, COVID quarantine 15, here we come. So, anyway, so Trina's got that mixed up. We're gonna go ahead and add our eggs, and then we have a separate mixing bowl over here so that we can add together all of our dry ingredients. Now, we've been blessed this summer to have Jania Stevens, who is one of our interns, courtesy of Indiana Wesleyan University. She's working on her master's degree in public health. Jania's helped us with this recipe to understand the gluten-free ingredients because she has children that have a gluten sensitivity. And so with our dry ingredients, the first part of it is going to be some gluten-free all-purpose flour, which basically consists of tapioca flour, almond meal, as well as potato starch. So the one thing that Jania has shared with us is that anytime you cook with gluten-free ingredients, your recipe might be a little bit more crumbly. We're going to show you that towards the end as we show you our zucchini bread as it comes out. So after we've added our gluten-free flour mixture, we're going to then add some flaxseed meal, which is very high in fiber, and also those omega-3 compounds that our body needs in order to be healthy as well. Then we're going to go ahead and add in about a teaspoon of baking soda right here. Oh, I'm sorry, baking powder. Baking powder. Thank you, Trina. Jeez Louise. All right, so we're going to get our baking powder. And then we're going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So let me adjust my measuring spoon here.
And baking soda is gluten-free.
Yes. Yeah, everything we're using here is gluten-free. Okay, baking soda has been added. We're then gonna add just a little smidgen of salt, totally optional. If you're trying to watch your sodium intake, then just omit it, but we're just gonna add that little bit in there. We're then gonna add a half of a teaspoon, Trina, of cinnamon, which is right in that big container. And then after Trina adds the cinnamon, she's gonna go ahead and do a 1/4 cup of allspice. And the allspice also gives it that nice fall, rich flavors that we enjoy in the fall, the cloves, all those.
How much was it again?
It's a 1/4 of a teaspoon,
Okay.
please. Did you get it? Very little.
It is very
A little bit of
little.
allspice goes a long way.
We'll be using our Purdue ones next
Yes.
week.
All right, and so then what we're gonna do now that we have all of our dry ingredients together, we're gonna take our spoon and go ahead and just kind of mix them up and blend them together, just so they're all incorporated. Just stir those up. It smells really good. I think the one thing about zucchini that I love is how versatile it is, but also kind of gets me ready for pumpkin and different things like that, and butternut squash and all those other good things that come from the garden in the fall. Okay, so now that we've got our dry ingredients mixed, we're then going to take 1 cup of grated zucchini, and we're going to add it to our egg and oil and sugar mixture. Okay, Gina's going to stir that up. And then we're going to carefully add in a little bit at a time of our dry ingredients. Gina's going to just keep on stirring.
The vanilla?
We got to add the vanilla. It's really important, as I just realized we got to add our vanilla in, so we're going to use about a capful of vanilla to give it that good rich flavor. Okay, and continue to stir that in. And then we're going to continue to add our dry ingredients in.
Smells wonderful.
I know, and that batter looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, this is kind of a sweet way that we can use our zucchini, and it's also a great way to get kids to eat it too, because they usually like those sweet things. Some additions that you can add to this would be to add maybe some mini chocolate chips to these muffins. You could even add some raisins, pineapple tidbits if you wanted to. There's all different kinds of ways that you can modify this recipe to add just a little bit more zip or zing to it. So Trina's going to continue mixing that up, and then once it's all mixed, we're going to go ahead and see how the batter, thanks Trina,
Sure.
It's kind of a little bit lumpy, which that's a good thing, you want it to be. So what we're then going to do is we're going to go ahead and distribute the batter into our muffin tins, where we're going to fill them about 2/3 of the way full using a spoon. So we're going to go ahead and get those going in the oven. They're going to bake for around 35 to 40 minutes, or until the toothpick in the center comes out clean. Now, oven times can kind of vary depending on how your oven is. I'm going to say with this recipe, probably start with a lower time frame to get it started, and then once they start smelling like they're getting done, then you might want to check them to make sure that they don't get overcooked. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this first session of Let's Get Cookin' Summer Squash Splendor, because we've had a lot of fun cooking with you guys today, and I hope that you'll stick around. At the end, there is a survey that we'd like to fill out to see what you've learned and how we can further help you to learn more about any topics that Purdue might have to offer. And so I hope you'll take the time to fill that out as we finish and conclude with this. But we want to thank you for joining us, and we also want to remind you that if you have questions about this topic or anything else, you can always check out our website at extension.purdue.edu/Ohio. Well, like we said, Trina and I really enjoyed sharing with you about zucchini today, and we hope that you've enjoyed it as well. We just want to go ahead and show you the finished product of what we've made today. Our breakfast casserole, you can see that we've kind of sampled it already, and I just want to say it was pretty good. So we're hoping that you'll enjoy yourself a little slice of that if you make it. And then we've also got our zucchini muffins that we also did. Now, just as a disclaimer, we chose to do muffins because it's more of a quick and easy breakfast on the go for kids. But should you go ahead and choose to do zucchini bread, you're going to want to make sure you bake it for that 35 to 40 minutes, But we found that with the muffins, that about 18 to 20 minutes was a better time frame for baking time. So just be aware of that. And like I said, we have a survey that we'd love for you to fill out just to get some feedback from you about what you learned from our program today. And as always, if you have any questions on this topic or anything else, please check our website out at extension.purdue.edu/Ohio.